Hello friends, Jermaine here and welcome to this video. In today's package of the week, we'll be looking at the Args package. What the Args package does is it takes in command line arguments that we pass in when running our Dart programs, and it will pass it into a set of options and values. So we can add two types of options. There's the generic option, which takes in an actual value, and there are flags that we can specify, so that when we are running our programs and pass those in, we can retrieve those and use that to affect our software in some shape or form. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's get into it and see how that looks like in practice. I've gone ahead and added the Args package to the project. And this project is available on GitHub under the starter branch, and I've added a HTTP package as well because we're going to be using that later. In order to use the Args package, we need to create what is known as an arg parser. This arg parser allows us to specify an option. We'll call our first option name, and in order to retrieve that option that will get passed in, we need to run the parse command, which will accept a list of arguments. So these arguments are passed in from the command line by the Dart runtime, and we pass that into our object, which means that we are able to retrieve the option we passed in. And then for now, I'll just print it out. Okay, so let's run this. And I'll pass in the name option and specify my name. And when I run that, over here, we get the value. This add option method also takes in a couple more arguments. So we can specify an abbreviation, and we'll use N for short. So that means if I run this with just -N, I can pass in my name like that, and that will give me the same result. We can also provide helper text for each of these options. So I'll specify the help named argument, and I'll just say provide your name. And in order to view this help text, we'll just do parser.usage. So we'll print that out to the console. Let's run this again. And that gives us this line here. So usage would print out the usage information and also each of our defined options. So as well as adding an option, we are also able to add a flag, and the name of the flag, which we'll call help. This also takes an abbreviation and help text. And if I go ahead and print this out, we get this line over here for the flag. And the difference between a flag and an option is that an option takes in a value, but flags do not. So you'd use flags to affect the flow of your program that you're writing. The Args package by default adds a negatable option for each of these flags. So you can specify help, and you can also specify no-help. So what we want to do is to set negatable to false. So if I run this again, now it just looks like that, which is what we want. What we are going to do with this help flag is that right after here, we will have a condition checking whether help was passed in as a flag. And if that's the case, we'll print out the usage information. And then we'll just exit our program safely. Okay, so if we test this out now, pass in help, then we get this. Or alternatively, we can use the shorthand, which will give us that. Okay, and we can tidy this up nicely by using the cascade operator. So I'll just do that. So we can also add a separator, and I'll just call it developer tools. And if we print that out, it gives us that. We'll go ahead and add an option for PaaS, which stands for Platform as a Service. And the Args package allows us to add a list of options that are allowed. So we'll set the allowed, which takes in a list. And I'll go ahead and specify some options like so. So if we run this, and before we run this, let's grab the value for that, like so. And then I can run this, which gives me that. If I set an option that doesn't exist, then we get an exception. So at that point, we can use a try catch to handle that in some way, shape or form. And if I print out the help information, we now get this section with the list of allowed options. You can also specify a default for this. So we'll set Microsoft Azure as the default. Let's test this again. Okay, and now we get the default. And then the help text has default right next to whichever the default option is. So apart from adding singular options, we can also go ahead and add a multi-option option. We can call this browser, and I'll just set B as the abbreviation. I'll set the help text, and then we'll specify our allowed list of options. And then let's go ahead and log this out. Let's run this by specifying the browser. And then that gives us what we specified as a list of strings. And when we log out the usage instructions, we get that. Also, we are able to specify allowed help, which takes in a map object containing the option and a description text for that option. So doing this now means that when I log out the help information, it now looks like that. Alright, so just to recap, when using the Args package, be creating an arg parser object, and you essentially be defining options and flags and separators. And then once your arguments gets passed in, you are able to retrieve the particular option or flag, and you would use that to affect your implementation in some way, shape, or form. So I'm going to create a real life example, and what that example is will be related to our pubspec.yaml file. So I want to create a utility that we can use to automatically add dependencies to this file and then run pubget to update our dependencies. Currently, in order to add a package, I need to open this file, add an entry manually as such, and then save it. And then I have to run the pubget command to update. So what we're going to do is write a script that will take in an option and then go ahead and install the package. So I'll create another file in here. I'll call it crawl install. So the name of our executable will be called crawl, and then install will be the command. And then over here, we'll create a parser with the install option and the help flag. We'll go ahead and pass the results. We'll check if the help flag was specified. Then we'll print out this following text. We'll say crawl, name of our executable, and then manage packages in your Dart project. And let's print out the usage information. So what this will look like is we can do crawl install and then pass in the help flag, which will give us that. Because we're writing a command line program, the Args package gives us a couple of helper classes to make it easier organizing these commands that we are going to be specifying. Because right now our commands are passed in as options, but let's say we want to specify other commands. Doing this way becomes unmaintainable in the long run because it will involve a lot of logic, checking for the particular command and then handling it some way, shape, or form. Fortunately, we don't need to use this approach. We can use the command runner and command classes that comes with the Args package. I'll go to the lib folder and I've got a file here created called install command. I've imported the relevant packages, including the command runner. The first step we need to do is to create a subclass of the command class. We'll call it install command. We need to override two properties. The first property is the name of the command, which we'll call install. The second property is description, which describes what the command does. We also need to override the run function because this is immediately invoked when we pass this install command instance into our command runner object. And in fact, we can test this out by printing running install command. We'll come back to our crawl install.dart file. I'll comment this bit out. I'll go ahead and import the command runner in here. I'll also import the install command file we just created. So once these are imported, then we'll create a runner, which is an instance of command runner. This takes in two options. So one is the name of our executable, which we called crawl, and the second is a description. And what we need to do is to register our install command. I'll invoke the add command method, and then in here, create an instance of our install command. And let's delete that because we've imported it here already. The last thing we need to do is to run it and then pass in our list of arguments. So let's save that. Let's run this file directly. Okay, so running this file gives us all of that. The command runner goes ahead and it adds all these extra bits that would normally do manually. It's also helpfully listed the available commands that this command runner can run. So for now, we've just specified the install command, but we can easily invoke add command and add various other commands. For instance, an uninstall command if we want to. And also we're able to run crawl help and the command for more information about that command. So let's do that. So if we do crawl and I'll pass in the help option and then the name of the command. and that gives us that. And we see the description printed out to the console, also the same over here with the name and then the description that we specified over here. So our command runner is set up and pretty much ready to go. And what we're going to do here is implement the function that will handle the package installation logic. So I'll call it install package, which will take in the name. And in this run block, we've got this print function, which in fact, I forgot to test that. So let's test it now. Crawl install. And we see that here. Let's go ahead and delete that. And before we do the install package, we are also able to access the argument results. We can also access the arg parser in here as well, which is defined under command. So if I go ahead and run this again, then we get that. Ideally, we'll do argparser.usage, and then we'll do .arguments to access the arguments we passed in. So if I do install do, our arguments gives us a list of strings, and then the usage information gives us the help, which is implemented by default. So we don't need to do this ourselves. All right, so let me comment these two out, and we'll invoke our install package function. And the package name comes from our arg results, the arguments, and we want the first item in the arguments list. And then we want to make a request to the pub API to retrieve data about our package. So that looks like this. Here's the package information for Dio. Unfortunately, the package repository allows us to access a JSON representation of this by doing /API/packages and then the name of the package. And in here, we've got certain details like the latest package version. And also we've got a versions key, which has got a list of versions in here. So for now, we'll just make a request and retrieve the latest version. And using the HTTP package, we'll make a GET request and then we'll pass in the package name. Let's have a check on our status code. If it's 404, meaning it's not found. In fact, we can do HTTP status.notfound, which is from the Dart.io library. We'll just print out the response body and then we'll just exit the process. So let's try that. Let's say Dio. Okay, so if it's not found, we get this JSON response from the API, and in the browser, it gives us that. So we can easily grab the message and then display it. But I'm not going to do much with that. If it doesn't exit, that means we got some data back. And for now, I'll just print that out. So let's run this again. And now we got the JSON object. So firstly, let's pass the response body and retrieve the package version. And then we'll retrieve the latest version, like so. Next step, we are going to load our current pubspec file. And once that's loaded in, we will look for our dependency section, and we are going to insert an entry at the top of it. I'll create a variable. We'll look in our pubspec string, and then I want to do replace first, and we'll replace our dependencies key. And what we'll do is we'll rename that to dependencies. We'll add a line break. We'll add 2 spaces, and we'll specify the package name and then the package version, and then we'll add a line break afterwards. And then now we are able to write out our pubspec.yaml file. And let's go ahead and test this out. Let's get rid of shelf and let's save it. So if I have this here and this next to it, we can do install shelf, and when I run it, it goes ahead and it adds the entry in here like so. Let's install another package, and it goes ahead and adds it in here as well. If you like, you can add the caret symbol like these ones. So let's install the YAML package and it'll go ahead and add it in here. All right, so this looks good. We got one last step, running the pubget command. So we can do that by invoking run sync on the Dart process class, and our executable is pub, and then the arguments is get. So what that will do is once it adds the entry in here, it will go ahead and run pubget as well to update our list of dependencies. So let me get rid of all of this. And if I go ahead and do that, it'll add it, and then it'll run pubget. And let's just print out a message, name, followed by an @ symbol and the package version. Okay, let's try that again with Dio. So it goes ahead, adds it, runs pubget, and then we see this message here. We can install this globally and then have crawl install.dart as an executable. So in our parse.yaml file, we'll add the executables key and we'll create a crawl executable, and we'll specify the file we wish to run called crawl install. So what Dart will do is look in the bin directory for this file, and it will go ahead and allow us to run it by typing crawl in the terminal. So if I save this, we need to install this project globally by doing pap global activate. We'll pass in the source option, and then we want to specify a path, and I'll just add a dot, which refers to the current working directory, which is this directory here. So if I go ahead and run this, Dart will add this folder as a package at a global location on the system. So now that it's been activated as a package, I'm able to do crawl. So now we are given all of that. We can do crawl help install, and that gives us the help information for the install command. And then we can do crawl install shelf, and then it goes ahead and adds the shelf command and runs pap-get to update our dependencies, and we are now told that installation is successful. Okay, so that's about it with the Args package. I hope you found this interesting. If you did, hit that like button and also share this video. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss out on future tutorials demonstrating how you can build full stack applications using Dart and Flutter. If you've got any questions, let me know down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.